What's up, everybody? It's your favorite host, Disaster Attack Zone. I'ma let you finish show number 183.
The other one of us is meditates 2 times a day, and I'm all good. It's fine.
We're on the Pantheon Podcast Network. One of us is highly annoyed, but he's working through it. And here we are.
And the other one is trying to talk him off a ledge and remind him that we are in the middle of 2 major crises. People are starving in Gaza and there's rats running rampant. It's okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. At least so I did something. I did a something on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I left my house.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see the media coverage when I left my house?
I mean, you went a block and a half, though.
It's 10 blocks. I'm sorry, it's 10 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
10 very long, dangerous blocks.
But you can see it from the roof of your building that you live.
No, I can't. Oh, no, on the other side of the building.
On the other side, you can.
On the other side of the building, I can. Mm-hmm. All right. So my friend Annie. Hi, Annie. Friend of the show. Lovely, lovely, lovely. The nicest person. You know how you have those friends that when you're with them, they actually make you feel really good about yourself when you're done with them. And not in a fake bullshit way. She does. She's lovely. Annie, through a connection, who worked at Barclays. Thank you, Jamie and Amy, got tickets for Bad Bunny. And she's a fanatical Bad Bunny fan, partially because she probably understands what he's saying. So we went to go see Bad Bunny. Now, the ticket said at 8, and for some reason, both she and I actually took that seriously. I don't know why.
Nobody goes on.
I know. But the point is,
and you're a seasoned showgoer.
No. I know. But the thing is, it was actually a really good idea because we got there. There were other people there. We could sit. We had a good time. We were talking to people. We were having a really nice time. She's got 3 kids. I've got old age. And you know what? Had we not left the house when it was light out,
right, somebody
would have come up with a reason not to leave the house. I mean, I know that.
Right.
So we called each other ahead of time. What are you wearing? She's much younger than me. She always looks great. She was giving me cholo realness. I loved it. She looked amazing. I actually put on, for me, a shit ton of makeup. We went. It was lovely. They're all handing out those little things that you wear around your neck now that light up.
Oh, okay.
His was a boot. I will say this. I put it in my trash after I got home. It was lighting up until this morning still. So I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because I was like, why are you still lighting, Bad Bunny, and your foot? Anyway, he did go on at 9:30. There was no opening act, which I kind of admire. Lots of really hot Puerto Rican and Dominican girls in cowboy hats. Lots of Dominican and Puerto Rican boys who maybe should have looked in the mirror before they put on the cowboy hat because it was not the same. So Beyonce, take that. Bad Bunny was doing a cowboy hat before you. Anyway, it was a really, really good show. The lighting was fantastic. The staging was fantastic. Did I have to put little things in my ear because the bass was killing me? But he's just so weird. He comes out like this outfit with this schmata on his hat, and he's carrying a purse for no good reason. He didn't take anything out of the purse. He was just like weird. I'm assuming he did all the hits.
Because you want to know what? He's like Aretha Franklin. His money was in that purse.
I know.
Aretha gets to the venue and she goes into the office first. Let's do business.
Right.
Give me my money.
Like every black act back in the day.
And then the purse comes out.
Right. Every suitcase. Al Green, where's my suitcase? Then I'll go on. No, it was great. And what I really, really did love about it, he did 2.5 hours. There was an orchestra. There was a pony. There was a set that was supposed to be the Brooklyn Bridge, which went completely over my head, but that's fine. He did half of the show in one half of the arena, the other half show in the other half of the arena. But what was really, really great is that he is so acknowledging of his fans. He doesn't sing in English at all. He doesn't talk in English at all. He can obviously not obviously, but he speaks English and he's glad to have everybody there, but he knows that his fan base who have been with him since day one are Spanish speaking, and he's talking to them, and he would stop at certain points and just look out in the audience. And part of me is going, is there technical problems? Is something wrong with his audio? And he would just stop and he'd point to people and have full out conversations with them. And it was just lovely, and it was fun. And, you know, it's fun every once in a while. I'm sure you have this experience to go to a show and see what a real, I saved up all my money, I had to get a babysitter, I had to drive in from somewhere, fan is like, because they were just screaming throughout the entire show. And a woman sitting in the what do they call suite next to us threw up like before the even show. No, I didn't tell you this. Puked her mother-loving guts out.
Oh,
yes. The show hadn't even started.
It's like,
how do you get that drunk? How do you, Courtney?
Wait,
seriously.
at 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock. At
8 o'clock, she's already lit and ready for
wasted, and not just one. A repeated pattern of blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that
so
was.
So she didn't get up and try to go to the bathroom?
No, his girlfriend. I don't know if boys have this situation too, but when girls puke, they need another girl to hold their hair. Yeah, to hold the hair. She left, was taken out. It took quite some time for them. First, they came and sprinkled talcum powder on the thing. That wasn't going to do it. But she gave up prime real estate. She had a fantastic seat. And we were not in the stinky booth. We were really nice people who work at Barclays and whose kids work at Barclays. And it was lots of fun. And we made friends and we were talking and it was lots of fun. And it was a great show. And it was really nice. And it was great. It was really fun. And he's just really, really genuinely seems like a very nice person. And I had a good time until I fell on the way home. But we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to. If there's an orthopedist or a neurologist listening to the show, please contact me because something is fucking wrong. Okay. Anyway, Knicks. That's something right.
I'm really happy for our Knicks. You know, listen, I know you and I always scream it. New York City is a Knicks town and will always be a Knicks town. And that's not a disrespect to the Nets. You know, obviously New York is a big place and it can support two basketball teams literally about a mile and a half from each other. But it is a Knicks town. And when the Knicks do well, I think it's great for the NBA because New York is the number one market and Madison Square Garden is the mecca of basketball. And we finally have a team where it feels like the whole city is behind them. And even people outside of New York are really looking at the Knicks and enjoying what they're seeing. And it's great because at the beginning of the season, nobody pegged New York to even be in the playoffs or in a position to end the regular season at number 2. And then, you know, we've gone through a lot of injuries this season, but to see how, you know, Julius Randle finally had the surgery that honestly he should have had in January. So, you know, he's out for 5 months and Jalen Brunson put the team on his back, but
he's a superhuman and the rest of them stepped up too.
But Josh Hart also stepped up in a way and DiVincenzo stepped up and Hartenstein. Like,
you know, I love a white. I've discussed this.
You love a white, Nick.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do love a white, period. And I do love and everybody can just not even get at me with this. I do enjoy, you know, it's the Chris Mullin fan in me, you know. I do enjoy a gym rat white ethnic basketball player. In real life, don't really need to have anything to do with them, but not an imported white. Because they were great. They were great. And they all played he and Hart. And, you know, all these guys were like so low down on the draft when they were originally drafted.
I think you need to go back and finish that up with a statement so that makes sense so people aren't thinking you're like,
that I hate white people?
That you hate black people because you're
I don't think anyone would think that, but
I think just finish it up because it's like, you know, I do love a white.
I love seeing, and the NBA I just love
because it feels like an outlier. Is that what you're saying?
A unicorn, the way they used to call it. It's like the same thing. It's like, look at that. Here we go. This just proves that sports are. Yes, I am now announcing my candidacy for the Republican Party. I'm running on the whites-only platform.
Mm-hmm.
No blacks, no Jews, no dogs, as they used to say back in the day. No, I just fun, and I'm actually joking around. I don't sit there and go, how many white people are on the team? Because I hated Bill Laimbeer. And I hated the entire Celtics. Which was, except for Robert Parrish, right? And who's the other guy?
Well, we're in New York. We still don't love the Celtics. Let's just be real.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? And you know this as a New Yorker. When I see New Yorkers, and especially Black New Yorkers wearing Celtics hats, I'm like, why don't you just wear the Confederate flag and be done with it?
Oh, God.
Courtney, you're old enough to remember what the Celtics. Courtney, don't act like you don't know. Don't act like you don't know. The greatest scene in any Spike Lee movie is John Hurd rolling up in that bird jersey and Giancarlo Esposito and all them going like that.
No, the greatest scene in any Spike Lee movie will always be I Don't Want to Be Alone Tonight by Tisha Campbell and the Gamma Rays, where suddenly they have full production.
Full production in a black college. No. In an HBCU, suddenly, bye-bye.
With gowns and hair.
Yes. I'm just saying that Boston.
Yeah, it's very weird. And one of my really good friends, Dina, is from Boston, and everything Boston. Those are her teams. I understand. And my mother and I used to argue because my mother loves Tom Brady. She loved him on the Patriots. She calls him Tom Terrific, and I'm like, that is horrendous, lady. It's her, and does not fuck with my Giants. Doesn't fuck with my Knicks. And I'm like, I just don't understand why this is happening. So yeah. I don't understand the New York Boston fans. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't get it. It's. I mean, all right. I'm over exaggerating, saying it's like the Confederate flag. But the point is that all right, that's a little extreme. But what I mean is, there is a reason when you're a New Yorker, you're supposed to hate Boston. When you're in Boston, you're supposed to hate New York.
Yep.
It just is.
It's just our rivalries, right?
It's
like
our rivalries.
New York versus Philly.
You're just suddenly like, oh, I love Boston with the leprechaun. How can you root for a team that has a leprechaun? And I'll leave it at that.
That's like New York versus Philly, right? Except I feel like for New Yorkers, we were really happy when the Philadelphia Eagles with Nick Foles, when they won the Super Bowl finally, I was happy. And we like Jalen Hurts, right? So I think that, and people want to give Saquon a hard time because he got traded there. But it's like, guess what? Not traded, I mean, he made a deal there. But guess what? We really wanted him in New York, but the Giants management seemed to not.
I don't care about football. What I'm going to say about Philly, and then we'll move on, is that Philly was always my backup team back in the day. In the
really?
80s. Yeah, no, I was always going to go because, and if you laugh, I swear I will put this down, take the train up to your house and scream at you. I had a little crush on Maurice Cheeks.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. And Doug Collins. I love Doug Collins.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Maurice Cheeks once at a basketball tournament in the neighborhood, and I kind of acted like I had seen all members of NSYNC.
And you cut.
But I did it very subtly. I went up to him and I went, and this was when the neighborhood was mainly black, so I was scoring points just by being at the game. And I went over, I went, are you Maurice Cheeks? And he goes, yeah. And I went, I'm a really huge fan. He goes, oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. All right, continuing on, WNBA. I don't have crushes on any of them, but I think they're great.
I think they're great too. And the draft happened, and I believe the top 10 went as most of the mock drafts had it going. Caitlin went number 1. Camila Cardoza went number 3 to Chicago. Angel Reese went number 7 to Chicago. Great. Very happy for these young women. You could see I love to see somebody when their dream comes true, that moment. You know what I mean? So
you like to look at me every day. My dream is coming true every day to toil away, making no money. You see it in me, right?
It's what you dreamed of as a little girl. But it's like to really watch that moment, just the tears coming down and their families. And you're like, right, your life, this is the thing that when you were a kid, you always thought, I want to be a professional athlete. and that moment has happened.
And that was an opportunity that wasn't available for women for many,
for
many
a
years.
very long time, until the 90s.
Right. There was no outlet
that was
unless
it.
you wanted to go play in Europe. And let's hope with women's basketball college basketball being way more popular ratings wise and everything wise than the men's NCAA, that these organizations pay these women what they are worth so they don't have to fly coach.
And they start to get more deals, right? Because the WNBA they've made some TV deals. I want to say this year, Ion TV has picked up WNBA games. I want to say the Fox networks have picked up WNBA games to play. They're going to be playing the Liberty games on Channel 9 here in the New York area. So
they are? That's amazing.
They are. Yeah,
great.
Channel 9 is going to be playing the Liberty games. Isn't that great? I love that. So we can watch them.
Great. That's majorly accessible too.
And the crazy part is because of how people, the attendance and the money and the sponsorships, they're starting to get more, but the ladies still fly mostly commercial to all of their games. But now there are some times during the year where they're starting to get more charter flights.
Good.
So we're hoping.
Call for crying out loud.
But more than that, it's like you're a professional athlete.
Right. Treat them with respect.
Why are you having to get on the same Delta flight as me to go to Atlanta to play your game? You know what I mean? You should be able to do like all the athletes. You leave after the game and all of those things. And so we're hoping that they get by, at least 2025 full charters for the season as more endorsements and sponsorships come into the game. And I think with this crop of young ladies who we're coming in with some big names, I believe those games. I think all of those Caitlin Clark games will be sold out. I think the Angel Reese games will be sold out. I think when Caitlin comes to play the Liberty and Angel comes here to play, I think that people will want to see them.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
You know what you and I need to really garner the public's attention, Courtney? I think we need a diss record.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're clearly missing out on.
We should start a war. Let's pick on stupid
shit.
We should pick some of the other, a couple of the other podcasts on the Pantheon Podcast Network,
and just randomly.
Where you can hear us weekly, and we will pick a fight.
Randomly pick. Wow, let's
start it with rock and roll archaeology. Let's just start a fight.
Randomly start fights based on nothing, and then we can work. Yeah, we're just gonna randomly start a fight with them. How about those guys from MTV? I got beef with them too.
Who cares about the Rock Hall? We can just start a fight with them.
And Barney and Mark.
Rock's back pages. We're just gonna start a real fight where you can hear all of them
Jasper,
on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Coming
where you can hear us weekly.
Barney and Mark and Jasper. I can take you down.
Right. Fight.
We'll just speak in American and make all American sports references so you'll have absolutely no idea what we're talking about. Anyway, everybody and their mother, except for their mother, is engaged in some sort of cockamamie beef. So
a couple of them are polite. Because I love a polite, gentlemanly beef.
Right. Well, that's like, excuse me, Squire, but I object highly to your verbiage. It's ridiculous. All right.
And then we have one against somebody who's named after a drink that you can get at your coffee house and the lottery that you can play nationally. It's like, I don't know.
Wait a minute, a drink you can get at your coffee house?
Ice Spice.
Oh, that's
and Lotto.
Oh, yeah. I don't care about those two.
Yeah, but we're talking about beef. No, that's supposedly happening right now. And you could tell, I guess it was escalated again over at Coachella when Ice Spice.
All right, but I'm going to tell you the difference. I'm going to tell you the difference between that and we'll get to the other one. The media or people, fans are going to say, cat fight. No.
They already expect that because for some reason people just always want the women to fight. You're supposed to fight. It's very weird. It's like you can't coexist. No, we need you guys to fight each other to be at the middle. It's just
weird. But I will say this: I do think that you need to be a lyricist to be in a battle, and so far I only see possibly one lyricist in that duo.
Yeah. And even the Drake supposedly response and everybody's like, ooh, I was like, this is, This
Stupid.
is
You know what
not.
it's
This
like?
ain't it,
It's
kids.
like Trump nicknames, Little Marco and whatever. No, so it started with like the Ken. It's just so confusing. I literally have a piece of paper, and every week I write it down and cross it out. I will tell you, as someone who teaches college students, they don't give a flying blank about this. These are guys trying to find relevance. They're all basically on the same label, right? Rick Ross, where'd they drag him out from? I mean, seriously. I mean, I never was a big Rick Ross fan, but where
Yeah,
they
I
go?
don't really get.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
like the
never.
kids
Yeah,
loved him. Yeah, I don't get
yeah.
him. And we know this is not ours to get, but a lot of this feels like I'm hitting 40 and I need to stay in the
Let me
mix.
just say this, Drake. Listen, I'm not going to act like there hasn't been some Drake songs that I haven't liked. They
Me
seem to
too.
be the ones from, for me,
A long time ago.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
But is that him or is that production? He's always had great production. He's always had a great production. The tracks are great. Yeah.
But listen, and honestly, the one that I like the most, he's not even rapping on it. He's singing on it.
Oh, the Lauryn Hill.
No, it's the one, I got my eyes on you.
Right. So there you go. But he invented rap singing, don't you know that?
I mean, and I thought that was really catchy.
Okay, it's true. But now we have.
But I also feel like that was 6 albums or 7 albums.
27
ago.
albums and 14 mixtapes ago.
Yeah.
So we have, first off, Kendrick Lamar could wipe the floor with any of these guys at any day. Back in when we were kids, the beat, you always had beef, right? Kool Moe Dee against LL, both really great lyricists. LL against Cannabis, destroyed him, right? Destroyed him. Jay and Nas, probably destroyed each other. It was elevated. Great. This is just like two little whiny kids in the playground. Your nose is too big. You had a nose job. You're short. Oh,
look at the text my mother sent me. I was like,
I know. I mean,
when I was done.
No, that's
when I was like,
I'm sorry. When you're
this
dragging,
is where I check out of this.
When you're dragging, I mean, it's like,
look
come
at
on,
the text my mother
sent me. I mean, when you're running to mommy's house, mommy, call his mom and tell him to stop picking on me. It's just
this is the text my mother sent me.
And now, and just in case
I was like, this is 2024 in a nutshell, kids. Take it in.
And you're an adult and you're annoying as shit. And are the Raptors in the conference? No, they are not. And also, now Lupe Fiasco from the stage of Coachella, which we'll talk about in a second, announced that he will battle anyone. I'm like, I'm sorry, was anyone asking Lupe Fiasco to do anything? Not that he's not talented. I'm not taking away from his talent, but it was really seriously anybody asking him to do anything.
You know what? And what you start to realize is how much that people will insert themselves into the conversation out of left field where you're just kind of like, this was already dumb. And now it's like
media.
I just don't even get it.
You need to constantly it's all rapid response. They need to, if they had to be in the media of our day, they would have to wait a week or a month to get into the conversation in the magazine. It's just like, yeah, the whole thing is stupid. And
except no, right? Because a lot of shit went around, and when we were young, people would answer it all on mixtape or the old school. Remember when Jay and R. Kelly went on that joint tour? Do you remember that? And when they got into the fight, and then Jay calls Angie Martinez in the middle of the night and says, I want to come on the radio to say what happened. She goes to the station. He comes in middle of the night. Then and R. Kelly's listening to him on the radio. Then he calls and says, I'm coming in. So right after Jay leaves, he comes in. I miss that kind of shit.
Remember when they used to call it Shot 97?
Because there was always some shit happening.
There
was always some shit happening in front of the building, fucking on Hudson Street. On Hudson Street.
Which for those of you who don't live in New York is the last place people are shooting.
In Soho. And it's like, there was always some shit going down in front of Hot 97.
Yeah, they used to get, it was always
Are they still on Hudson? Is it still
I don't know. I don't know, but I just always found that amusing. All right, so Coachella. First off, there were way too many guest stars. Was anybody?
Well, that's every year. See, no, I don't call that.
But it's getting predictable. It never used to be this predictable.
But let me just say this: in watching some of the sets that did not have it, like Skepta, I felt like Skepta needed some guests, and I'm a huge Skepta fan. And Skepta has a bunch of records with American hip hop artists on it, and he needed some guests to help him because he was not in front of his crowd. If he was at a UK festival, they would have been rapping every word for it. And his set was long, and I was watching with a friend, and we kind of felt for him like, this is definitely not your crowd. He's trying to get the crowd into it. And I think he needed some familiar faces to help get that crowd popping.
Okay, maybe. I just feel like it's all become like J Balvin and Will Smith, huh?
Well, that made no sense, right? Because he came out to do his song. They don't have a record together. And I think
that's what it is. It felt manufactured. And Will Smith and his mutant children, not mutant, but I don't get the whole Will Smith children thing.
Willow's latest project is really good, though. I will give that to. She's the one I look at her and I'm like, okay, I can see the musician. I see the musicianship here, and you're doing really interesting things.
Jaden doesn't do anything. I mean,
well, Jaden does. He does a lot of humanitarian stuff. He's a philanthropist.
I'm sorry. Humanitarian stuff. What does he do?
Does. Well, he invented that machine to bring clean water to Flint, and then he does a lot of stuff that's not publicized and things like that. So I'm not going to shit on that kind of work that people do.
I didn't know he did that, but I have
because he's one of those people who does a lot of things and doesn't always publicize it. Like I know a couple of very big people that people don't realize actually do a lot of things, but they don't draw attention to themselves. They do it because
I didn't know that, but I have very little use for Scientologists, so I'm always suspicious of anything of Scientology.
There's no confirmation that they're Scientologists. So we do have to say you do
alleged
have to,
Scientologist. Alleged Scientologist. It's funny though that being a Scientologist is something that people would be ashamed of.
Well.
Alleged.
It's really, it's really interesting with that though, right? Because you have the people who are very proud to say it, and then listen. I think social media has made people afraid to just say their truth because they feel like if they speak the truth, they're going to get a gang mob against them. So you notice you have some people who are not afraid. They're like, this is what it is. Then you have others who think this mob is going to come and attack them.
Well, a mob should come for people in Scientology. Sorry. It's a cult. I have no problem. I have very little use for organized religion to begin with, but Scientology I find problematic, but I did not know that about Jaden Smith. But I will say, no pun intended, that it just seemed just kind of overloaded. No Doubt was the headliner, right? One night.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. I mean, that was I feel like that was a legitimate event. It wasn't a manufactured event. You know what I mean? Like some of these feel like her first time performing in 2 years. It's like 2 years. Lana Del Rey, you know, you and I part company on Lana Del Rey. I find some of her music interesting, most of her music the same. And I find her as a human being hugely problematic. I find her problem, and she's putting out a country record too.
I liked her entrance on the back of the motorcycle. I thought that was great. And I will say this. She sang my song, which is We're on the West Coast. I love West Coast. I love that song. And she hasn't sang that in a couple of years. So it was good to hear that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
listen, she did what she does.
Which is what?
The Lana Del Rey thing.
Yeah. It's a little, she's getting a little, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I get it, but I don't get it with her. But I just think that it's not enough an event. We've talked about this. It's the same rotating thing. Tyler, the Creator, I heard was fantastic. I heard Sublime was really good. It was a lot of nostalgia though. It was a lot of nostalgia. And as you have said before, it's all become kind of standing there and posing.
Oh, I actually, because I watched the live streams, I was on the phone with a friend from California, and we watched the entire Grimes thing as it was happening. And you and I have talked about Grimes, and you think that Grimes has good music. And I was like,
no, I'm going to stop you right there. And I'm going to correct you so I don't have to live my life in shame. I saw Grimes open up for Florence and the Machine 6 years ago, and I was like, oh, she's not bad.
I think it's a they.
Whatever. She was a she back then. She was identifying as using a she pronoun then. They identify non-binary now. That's fine. Back at that time. And at that time, they were like the talk and very lots of buzz and an it girl. This is pre-Elon, before we realized how completely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs they were. So I have never listened to grime.
I couldn't tell you a grime song, but evidently I knew that something wasn't right.
When you say grime, I think it's going to be the guys from Top Boy.
Yeah, I literally was sitting there like...
My own record is that I am not a grime fan. And I saw what they did. And that's
I was like, terrifying. I couldn't tell. I was like, so is this a DJ? I couldn't tell what was happening. And Grimes kept like cursing and being, we're having technical difficulties. I'm not good at math. I was like, I kept being like,
is there math in DJing?
I was like, what?
You DJ, you have to have a good SAT score in math?
No. And it was like, the tracks were loaded in, but then they were doing something, playing a double.
Did you see that site, Humans of Technology? They're doing these spoof things about her, like in 1999. Unbeknownst to people, Grime opened up a DJ school, and in Canada, she's Canadian, and because of that, we have Jeff Mills, and just like making up all these crazy facts. And then she was saying she blamed her assistant for not preloading the BPMs correctly.
Right. It was it was so
I'm getting
odd.
the check. It's somebody else's fault. And then...
Well, it was... What Grimes said was, I usually do everything myself. This is the first time I left it up to other people. And see what happened?
See? I let my children with their iChart name.
I hate people that do that kind of shit. It's like, do not... Like, okay, listen. Whatever this was supposed to be, it seemed nuts. And it just felt like it wasn't rehearsed.
No, I'm sure it wasn't.
It was all over the place.
It felt gimmicky.
And I guess Grimes played some songs that haven't been released yet, but I was like, oh.
How would you know?
I was like, is this actually Grimes music? Because I have no idea what I'm watching.
I have no idea. But the funniest thing is this site is hilarious because you almost think it's a real site, but it's not. They're saying she's like, oh, I couldn't. I mean, I had to listen to the BPMs and then listen to the music and fuse it together. And somebody comment, which is called DJing.
Which is called DJing.
DJing.
And on that, you know what? We're going to take a break and be right back and continue on the other side.
Hey, Pantheon listeners. Christian Swain here, taking a break from listening to a little Shout It Out Loudcast episode. Love Tom and Zeus talking all things Kiss. Of course, I was listening to them on my new Raycon wireless earbuds. They have quickly become my go-to earbuds because of the comfort. These soft tips are the best I've ever used. And at this price, plus a Pantheon discount, Raycon is really hitting on all marks. Sound quality is great too. I really love having these 3 EQ options because I like more bass in the music, but less in my podcast. 8 hours of playtime for the battery is great as well. Surround sound, noise isolating, and awareness mode are all included. These are great earbuds. Go to buyraycon.com/Pantheon today to get 20% off your Raycom order plus free shipping. That's right. You'll get 20% off and free shipping at buyraycon.com/Pantheon. buyraycon.com/Pantheon. Hey, Pantheon listeners, Christian Swain here. Another day, another podcast I'm working on. This time, it's Famous and Gravy with Amit and Michael. I want to let you know that I loved the Factor Meals package so much that I re-upped for myself, and then I sent a package to my in-laws. Like I was with my first shipment from Factor Meals, the in-laws were as excited to try one of the prepared restaurant quality meals. Well, they got the shipment of Protein Plus meal plan and were very impressed. See, being in their 80s, anything to make the meal prep easy is a plus for them. They heated the oven per instructions and minutes later were enjoying a very delicious, nutritious, and dietitian-approved meal. One big win for me. But what really floored them was the taste. Like I told you, it's surprising how good these meals taste. Restaurant quality indeed. And like my own shipment, it really was everything Factor Meals said it would be for some seniors. No prep, no mess meals. Factor meals are 100% ready to heat and eat. Take it from me and my in-laws. Head to factormeals.com/Pantheon50 and use the code Pantheon50 to get 50% off. That's factormeals.com/Pantheon50 and use the code Pantheon50 to get 50% off. Thank you, Factor Meals.
Hey folks, Stefan Shirazi and Renee Richardson here from the Metallica Report.
And we are proud members of the Pantheon Podcast family, where the best of music and podcasts unite.
We've got something pretty cool for you. We're giving away an exclusive Metallica merch package worth over $250.
That's a whole lot of Scary Guys, skulls, M72, and other sought-after Metallica swag. And we've made it easy for you to win. Follow and share the Metallica Report, and you're in the game. Go to pantheonpodcast.com/Metallica, enter your email, and hit that button to be entered to win.
And just like that, you're eligible for our monthly exclusive Metallica merch package.
And guess what, rockers? You can enter every month, so just do it. And while we love our global brothers and sisters, the lawyers won't let us ship outside the U.S.
And we're back. Listen, this is my problem with no, and you should be, because this is my job with what I hate about this new form of DJ. It's like no one can actually beat match. Nobody actually knows how to do. It's like I'm pressing buttons that's doing it all for me, and as soon as something goes wrong, it's like holy shit, the button's not working.
The button.
Ask anybody who has ever DJed. You've had a night where the equipment's not working properly, but you still are there and you have to make this set happen. And you figure it out because you're an actual DJ.
I guess her husband being a technological wizard didn't rub off on her.
And she doesn't know math.
And she doesn't know math.
And I kept being like, what is
Kids, fun fact. All right, all of you out there who were like me, who said, F math, I'm terrible at it, I'm not going to take any of this stuff. If you want to become a world-class DJ and make lots of money, take calculus.
And trigonometry. You're going to need it.
Clearly. And slope. I think slope, too, right? You need all this stuff. All right, speaking of
I do not know how I got through high school without ever taking trigonometry, but I did.
Oh, I didn't take it. I can top that. I can top that. I got through college without taking math.
At all?
At all. No, I take that back. When I started college, I took the CUNY math entrance exam and the CUNY English exam, passed the CUNY English exam. This is back in the 80s. Failed the CUNY math entrance exam, failed it again, failed it again, failed it again, failed it again, failed it again. When we were on road times 7. Meanwhile, I already have a scholarship to go to CUNY. I'm on the dean's list. Oh, look, the thumb came up again. And they finally said to me, you can't stay here anymore.
They're like, lady, you passed.
You gotta go. You gotta go. And then when I decided to go back to school, I said, all right. I went out to Brooklyn College. I took the CUNY math. I went to a 5-day intensive math class in the summer in a small room with a bunch of 18-year-olds. Took the CUNY math exam. These motherfuckers added a second part of it. And I failed the second part, and I went, that's it. I'm finding me a school where I don't have to take math.
That part. You're like, I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm done. I know how to add percentage. If something's 10% off, I know what it means. Right? All right, Hall & Oates, speaking of 10% off, they don't get along.
I mean, one is suing the other one. There's restraining orders. But I will say...
Say it. Say it so. Say it so.
I'll say it isn't so.
They're man-eaters. That's the best part about this, that you can literally use every one of their song titles except for Sarah's Smile.
I think that John Oates sounded, his response to the whole thing sounded much more gracious than everything I've ever heard Daryl Hall say, which makes me feel like Daryl Hall's the issue. You can just tell.
I mean, there were some times, we don't know either one of these gentlemen, obviously, and we have been fans of various degrees, of various phases of their career, but there are some times when somebody just keeps to be the person with whom chaos surrounds them. And it seems like, yeah, maybe Daryl Hall, because he got all the attention, because he's the cute one. His lead vocals, it's usually his lead. Yeah. So I think John Oates is handling. I mean, would you want to be buddy in a band with somebody who took out a restraining order against you?
Right. Yeah, I don't see that reunion happening anytime soon.
I don't see that reunion happening. I think that will be the Cold Day in Hell reunion.
Mm-hmm.
I think that everybody, I think that Van Halen or the
I'm kind of sick of reunions, if I could be honest with you.
Well, unless it's a band you want to see.
But then, not always.
All right, I will say this, and it is never going to happen because they really, truly hate each other.
Oasis, I know.
Yes, they truly hate each other. So if that were to happen, that would be the apocalypse is upon us.
Mm-hmm.
And pack your bags because we're all going to die.
Mm.
But they truly hate each other. And I believe that because they're brothers. So to hate your sibling that much that you won't go on stage and make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Other bands are like, yeah, I'm not crazy about him. I could deal with it.
But that's two guys who already have millions and millions of dollars and each have successful solo careers. So they're like, fuck that.
Right. Fuck that. I mean, that's why I think that would be a reunion. But the rest
even
of them,
though there's one of them who always talks about being open to it, it's the other one who's like never a day
but
in hell.
They can't do it without the other one.
Right.
It's the other one. They can't do it without either one of them. That band is not. This is not a band where you can.
Who's saying the lead vocals on most of the songs?
Liam is the lead singer.
Oh, so then basically he could actually go out there and play the songs and sing them.
He does, but it's not the same because Noel was. But Noel sang backup vocal. Noel did sing some. Let's put it this way.
Who sang Wonderwall?
Liam. He sang most of them, but
what were the big U.S. hits? I know they had hit albums. That's the biggest U.S. hit?
Yeah, that's it. In England, they Walk on Water. I will say this though: Liam Gallagher and John Squires, who I think was in Stone Roses, were playing.
Don't they have like a
they're
collaborative
touring.
project?
Yeah, they're touring. And if Noel Gallagher and Liam Gallagher were together, they would sell out the Garden 27 nights in a row.
Right.
But yeah, no. Liam sang most of this lead, but Noel did. I'm singing in my head the songs that Noel sang. Noel can sing. I mean, but Liam was. I mean, because he's got his own band, so obviously he can sing.
Yes, like Flying Birds, right? Noel Gallagher's
Flying Birds, and Liam Gallagher and his child support cases. Even their kids kind of don't get along. It's like they just don't get along with each other. They just don't like each other.
Which one was married to the Appleton from
Liam? Mm-hmm. I will give you a crib sheet on them. Liam was married to the girl from what band was that? And he was also married to
Patsy Kensit, right?
Yeah. And also had a baby with a writer who did a story on him and denied paternity of the child for years.
Class act.
They were very cute back in. I gotta say, they were cute. I do have a. I don't want to get into it. I have a little. They were just kind of cute and kind of they had vibe. But anyway, that's the only band I want to see reunionize because the rest of them, the main person is dead, right?
Well, the only band I like seeing whenever they come back or group is the Spice Girls. Like I'm always going to be down for a Spice Girl reunion.
But they will never reunionize all of them.
They keep saying that. Listen, they're all still together as a Spice Girl, even though Victoria didn't perform with them last time.
But I thought Jerry dropped out, didn't she?
No, Jerry's back with them. She's been back with them.
She realized that she needs a check.
Yeah, well, actually, she's married to like the
super
president
rich?
of like the F1 or something.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I read that. Yeah.
She's a proper English lady with a coin. I think you know what I mean. I think and plus, all of those Spice Girls, they made a lot of money. And they still make a lot. They're all working and doing their thing. But I could always go because that's the high holy grail of homosexuality. The Spice Girls, I love them.
Really?
Oh my God, I love them so much.
High holy grail of homosexuality and 14-year-old girls
who were 14 and now we're all grown.
Right,
so it's like it's like a bunch of old chicks and old queens, and we're all in there screaming at the same time. Sporty, scary.
Okay.
The loudest noise I want to say I've ever heard was at a Spice Girls concert. The first time around, both times were crazy, but the first time around, when they were at the hottest, I've never been to like one of those NSYNC or this is what I imagine a Justin Bieber NSYNC Backstreet Boys,
Non-stop
especially
screaming to the point where you can't hear anything.
Of like 12 to 14-year-old.
When their voices are really high pitched.
It's a noise you cannot recreate.
I know. It's like listening to a jet engine taking off.
It literally was like, holy shit.
But it's exhilarating in a way.
And I just was like screaming with them, like they just were losing their shit.
When I saw Gwen Stefani back in her Holla Back Girls, it was like nonstop screaming.
Literally, screaming.
And there were these because I was in record company seats, and there were these record company dudes like sitting next to me, yak, yak, yak throughout the whole thing. And I think I turned to him and said, "Could you get with it, please? Like, don't talk. Like, this is like, don't speak." To quote Gwen Stefani, still their best song.
You like that?
Yeah, Don't Speak is great. I liked No Doubt. I thought they were fun. I thought that
No Doubt has bops, and I think people were reminded of just how many when they did this set over the weekend at Coachella.
No, they had songs. They had, look, the thumb came up again. What is that about? All right, this is a really, really, this is possibly, you know what? I'm going to talk about the Judy Sill doc first so that we cannot go from a high to a downer. So Judy Sill is a singer that I was completely unaware of until about 5 or 6 years ago when Barney Hoskins, who we're going to have a beef with, right? We're having a diss war with. Should I call him up and let him know, by the way, so they can practice? Okay. Was a Los Angeles singer-songwriter who was the first artist signed to Asylum Records by David Geffen. And she put out 2 albums. She was a musician's musician, a cult artist, just an amazing songwriter, part of the LA but had a very, very troubled life. She had been arrested as a child for like real stuff, like armed robbery type of stuff. She had a drug habit. She was a heroin addict for much of her life. She had a horrible, horrible car crash towards the end of her life, which basically immobilized her. And she was absolutely brilliant songwriter. And there's a documentary out called Lost Angel, the Genius of Judy Sill. The people talking about her in this are her, Linda Ronstadt talks about her, J.D. Souther, who was her boyfriend for some, Graham Nash. These are people, David Crosby, or going, I wish I could have written a song like her. And Judy Sill, I can't even describe to you the level of musicianship, but then you start to, she pissed off David Geffen by basically calling him a faggot on stage, or something like that, because he wasn't promoting the record. She said what she said, and I'm not agreeing with it.
Right.
David Geffen does not come off great in this documentary. Let's put it that way. It's like, oh yeah, Judy, I still sometimes listen. He says, I still sometimes listen to her once in a while to this day. It's like, all right, David. But she gets left out of the conversation of the Asylum artists, Joni and the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt and Jackson Browne. And she was so ahead of her time in so many ways, but something that they bring up, and it's really true, and I'm not comparing the two because I'm not trying to pit them against each other, but one of the things people always talk about, rightfully, about Joni Mitchell is the beauty of her voice and her musicianship. Judy Sill had that as well, but Judy Sill was not pretty. And they talk about that in them. She wasn't ugly, but Joni Mitchell was beautiful, right? And she had that ethereal. Judy Sill was like a tough cookie. She was also started getting more and more religious. It's just a fascinating movie, and it's narrated using clips, passages from her diary. She was a tortured woman, but just a brilliant musician. Composing and orchestrating and doing everything. And so please, I think her music is available on Spotify, but this movie is available on Vimeo and all the places you can watch a movie. Lost Angel, The Genius of Judy Sill, was executive produced by Maya Hawke, who's Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke's daughter. So I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Now, As we always kind of acknowledge, people pass away all the time. It's just the circle of life. But it seems like in the last week and a half, a lot of major cultural milestones have passed away. I'm going to start with the one because for some reason I'm like, where's her obit in the New York Times? Patty Astor passed away last week. Patty Astor, if you know the movie Wild Style, she's not Lady Pink. She's the gal. She plays like the club owner Glario in Wild Style. She was a New York City underground actress. She started the Fun Gallery, and she started in the late 70s. Fun Gallery was the place that all these artists who are now household names, Keith Haring, Lee Quinones, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Futura, all these guys got their start. She was putting their art up and exhibiting their art and giving it a legitimacy before the world got hip to him. So very, she contributed majorly to the culture. She was not a star in the sense that you would know who she is. I am surprised that there's no mention of her, especially for the New York Times, which is a New York newspaper, but a real driving force of the downtown 70s and 80s art scene. You want to do OJ?
The funny thing is, I always thought when you kept saying it, I was like, is she related to Brooke Astor?
Right, Brooke Astor, that was her name.
Right.
Yeah, Brooke I mean, it may be a fake name. I don't think it is, because in what I have read, it didn't say real name Patty Schmegegi, But anyway.
OJ died, and OJ died, and who knew? Who knew that he left? He just did a will in January, and he has 4 children, and I guess they are the beneficiaries of his will. And his estate, he left them like $200 million.
What?
$200 million.
Have you seen? Well, he was sick. He had been in hospice. He was diagnosed with cancer. Did you see that horrible lawyer of his on TV yesterday, though?
Well, did you see he backtracked, and then this morning he said that the estates of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown will get money.
Okay, because that was a horrible, horrible statement. He basically said, over my cold body, I will make sure none of these people get any money. And
then he went back to say, that was a reaction to Ron Goldman, what he said, his father, Ron Goldman's father, what he said. He said, so I was responding to that. And, it's really interesting because, this is where, my mom, who's a Christian woman, who was like, listen, anybody dying is like they're human beings, so you should speak about them like they were a human being. And I think that is true. It's very interesting, the legacy of him, right? Because you're seeing some people talk about that first part and who he was to sports, and all of that is absolutely very relevant to who he was. And then I've seen it also bring up the conversations around his guilt or not guilt, and how a lot of people thought that Black people were just like, yay, because we knew he didn't do it. And that's not why a lot of Black people were happy that he got off. People forget the timing of that whole case and how it was.
Right after the Rodney King.
Right after the Rodney King situation, when we saw one of the first times that.
It was the first televised trial, wasn't it? One of the first televised trials.
And it was also that time when, after the civil rights movement, when we would kind of see like the police putting fire hoses and sicking dogs on Black people. You hadn't seen that in a long time. And then what do you get? You see these officers beating this man senseless on the ground, and then they were acquitted. And a lot of people felt like we will never get justice in this country. So it was like to see OJ, who really didn't associate himself with the Black community very much outside of when he first married his first wife, Marguerite. And then, then he was part of that whole Brentwood, Hollywood, Beverly Hills.
He said, I'm not Black, I'm OJ.
You know what I mean? It's like, so he was kind of like a weird anti-hero in the fact that because he felt that way, he was rich and he could afford the kind of defense that people always saw that they felt like white people got and Black people
the OJ Law and Order was on the other day.
Was it?
Remember the Bobby
Yeah.
Cannavale playing the athlete who writes the book about if I killed my child. I
Mhm.
can't help but think that was a deliberate choice on their part.
Right.
Norm, I mean, it's just true. There's 9 billion
Right.
episodes and they
Right.
throw the OJ one up. I will say this. If you
Mhm.
ever want to see absolutely brilliant, hysterical comedy, Google Norm Macdonald and OJ Simpson, the late Norm Macdonald.
Mhm.
Norm Macdonald used to make fun, not make fun. He was, after the day the verdict came down, Norm Macdonald, he used to do Weekend Update, SNL, said, well, it's
Mhm.
official. Murdering is legal in Los Angeles. And he lost his job because he kept making fun of OJ because the head of NBC at the time was OJ's buddy.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, all right, good thought, hopes and prayers for his family. He was, yeah. Complicated. And that stupid car chase interrupted the Knicks game. Remember that? That was the playoff game.
We were at the.
I was in a car listening to the Knicks game and that stupid car chase.
We were at the Dewdrop Inn.
Oh, I
The
love
old
the
school.
Dewdrop.
The
Oh my
old
God,
school.
that was such a great place.
That was our spot on Greenwich. The old school
great.
Dewdrop Inn.
I know.
Which was on Greenwich and 10.
Yep.
And we
near
went
Uncle
there
Charlie's.
Uncle Charlie's was across the street. We went there to, that was our after work spot. And
Right.
we were there to watch the finals. And the game had gone to commercial.
Yeah.
And we would, how you're laughing, you're talking, you look up, you're like, God, this is a long commercial. You know what I mean? It was like, we thought it was a long commercial.
Really? I know it's the NBA.
And then it was like, why are they following this white car? Like, what's going? And then like the volumes turn up and we realize, wait, there's a car chase going on. And then the basketball game was in a little box and the car chase is going.
Little box. Fun fact, you know whose father was the cameraman? He is now, I believe, they were trans woman, but at the time they were male identified. Whose father was the cameraman who followed all that? Katie Tur. Katie Tur.
Ah.
That was her pops.
I mean,
I'm just saying, I'm filled with useless.
That was so
crazy. We were literally watching a slow motion car chase.
It
wasn't even a car chase. It was a car following behind.
And let me just tell you, I don't think, because now everything is just so like on their phones. I worked at Sony when that happened. When they were like, the verdict is coming down. Everybody had a television in their office.
No. I was at VH1.
I can remember the noises, the gasps, the screams on my floor. People were like, "What?"
Yeah. No, that was.
No, the gag was, we had gone to lunch or something, and we're like, the verdict's coming back. We were like, "What verdict?" The jury just.
They literally
because the trial was weeks and weeks and weeks, and we were like, "The verdict's coming back already."
Yeah, that was a little ridiculous.
And I thought, well, clearly they know he's guilty. At this point, they're just going to be like, guilty. And they were like, not guilty.
Yeah. All right. I have to say that Rico Wade passed away. Rico Wade was a member.
1/3 of Organized Noise.
Of Organized Noise. Young, 52.
Yep.
Defined R&B and hip hop with Organized Noise. You have the first Outkast record. You have Goody Mob. You have Waterfalls by TLC. Killer Mike comes out of that camp. All these amazing, amazing musicians. Just really, they were, hip hop and R&B go through sort of cyclicals where these are the guys for a minute, these are the guys, but Atlanta was the center of sort of, for me, some of the most interesting, sonically interesting. You had the LaFace crew, you had Dallas Austin, you had Jermaine Dupri, and you had Organized Noise. And Organized Noise, Sleepy Brown, just so he passed away, just very much a shock. I guess it's always a shock when someone dies and you don't know they're sick, but just a phenomenal producer and songwriter. And Organized Noise, go back and listen to those Organized Society of Soul, all those Organized Noise and they were also Dungeon Family. That was their collective, the Dungeon Family, and just a really, really great loss for hip hop. And then Mr. C passed away. And for us old people, well, not old, but Mr. C was I mean,
Yeah, because he was still on the radio. I think.
Yeah. But he was, produced or executive produced Biggie's first "Ready to Die," a real staple of New York hip hop.
He and Big Daddy Kane. He worked
Big Daddy
with him.
Kane.
They went to high school together, I
right.
believe.
Sarah J. Hale. Yeah, Brooklyn High School. A real stalwart of New York City hip hop of that era, the 90s, late 80s, 90s. And then
another one, 57 years old.
Yeah. He was on the radio for years. Where is he? Was he Hot 97 as well?
Hot 97. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then his career sort of got overshadowed by some stupid
for a
scandal.
second, but then he went back onto the radio, I believe, and he was still playing. He played an event the night before he passed away, was on the radio the day before that.
Right. Which is actually a good thing in terms of that the nature of the scandal, which was that
because he didn't run away from it. Also,
right.
He was like, "Yep,
I like trans women. Okay,
mm-hmm.
Keep it moving."
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, a really, really influential, and the outpouring of his obit made the New York Times. Rico Wade's obit made the New York Times. So that is an indicator of the huge influence these people had. These are architects. Roberto Cavalli, I don't know much about him. I know he made clothes.
But a very fabulous designer who's really tied, tied to the music industry, because I think, especially for a period of time, you can go through and you can see all of the major dolls, from the famous yellow dress that Beyonce wears in Lemonade, where she's smashing the car windows. That's a Cavalli. You know what I mean? It's like he was definitely a favorite of the jet set Hollywood girls, the music girls,
like a big sort of
sexy. It's always like sexy and flowy or tight and cutouts and things,
So basically, nothing I would wear.
No, nothing you would wear.
Nothing I would wear. But
even though because you're tall, I feel like you in the right gown would be really fierce because you're tall.
I am tall, but I don't weigh 110 pounds.
But there'd be the right one. I think you'd be like,
I'm sure
we'd all be like, holy fucking shit.
No, I left my house the other day. All I was doing was not wearing jeans and had some makeup on. And people were like, oh, wow, where are you going? It's that bad with me.
Where it's like you put on a little rouge and the kids are like, wow, you're dressed up.
I was wearing rouge. I never wear rouge. I was wearing rouge.
Does that make us old that I said rouge? Does anybody say rouge anymore?
No, and they make me old that I knew what you were talking about instead of blusher. Yes, it makes us old.
Can I ask you, why is everybody wearing drag queen makeup now? It's like, I don't know. I see all of these makeup tutorials online. I'm like, no one should be walking around with that. Like your nose is contoured. Like that is drag queen makeup.
These kids, I just want to bring around the Faith Ringgold real fast, and then we can talk about the drag.
Yeah.
The word icon applies. Pioneering Black women artist. I am so lucky I got to see her retrospective at the New Museum about 2 years ago.
Which was a great show.
They do great shows in New Museum.
They really do. Smart shows.
They do smart shows, and they focus in on one artist, which is a great idea. She also was a children's book writer. She wrote the great book Tar Beach, City. So she passed away. Really, really great.
Born in Harlem.
She worked with textiles. If you get a chance, her stuff is in books, and her children's books are really, really great. So rest in peace to her. I don't know why people are wearing drag king makeup. I don't know why I'm watching these stupid tutorials of that English girl who gets dressed in front of me. I'm fixated on her all of a sudden. I find her amusing.
I don't wear makeup, and some of them I'm watching, I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting. But then at the end, I'm like, where are you going, though? That is drag queen makeup.
But I will say this, when they die, they get it's like TikToker. And I'm like, who are these people?
I just read some TikToker who has 10 million followers on Instagram. She just got signed to like William Morris Entertainment, to some big, and I'm like,
and this is another sign of the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What are you listening to? And I'll tell you what I'm listening to, because I bet your head will explode when I'm telling you what I'm listening to.
Well,
you have to say it for some reason.
For some reason.
Thank you. You know the rules for
but for some reason. Yeah, but we know, but it's not for some reason because we've been talking about some older albums that need life. So I was just digging through my record collection and I was like, you know what, let me play an album I haven't played in a really long time. And I went back to Brenda Russell's debut album, which is self-titled. It's called Brenda Russell, and it came out July 1979. And I had first of all, when we talk about people who are underappreciated,
oh yeah,
Brenda Russell is one of them. She is an amazing writer that's written a lot of things for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And I completely forgot because there's a cover version that is really iconic. She wrote If Only for One Night. The song that Luther Vandross is really one of his well-known songs, and his version is so beautiful. And I've forgotten that she wrote it, and it's on her debut album, which is a beautiful album, and it's worth a re-listen to. And I kind of put it on the other day and just kept playing it on repeat. I was like, wow, I forgot how great this album is. I forgot that If Only for One Night is her song. And I'm so used to hearing Luther sing it. When you hear her sing, it's like, right. This woman, you know, when I appreciate you and I have talked about this. I appreciate the One Producer album. You know, Andre Fisher produced her first album, and she wrote her first album. You know what I mean? Except Andre Fisher co-wrote 2 songs with her. And she also writes music. She composed the music. It's just amazing, amazing, amazing work that still stands the test of time as a great R&B album from a really underappreciated R&B master.
I started listening to a couple of days ago. I've always liked Sky Ferreira, and I saw her name somewhere, and she was going to be the girl.
I remember,
And then things happen. Not that she hasn't stopped it, but she was doing this, kind of electro pop, kind of punky, very catchy stuff. So her 2013 album, Nighttime, My Time, which I just love this album. For me, 24 Hours is one of the most perfect songs ever. And she had the look, she had the connection. She was one of the first people Devontae Hines worked with. Everything is Embarrassing, I believe is the name of the song. So I've been listening to that. It's just a really cool record. And all right, so she didn't become a huge star. She's been an actress as well, and I really like it a lot. And then last night I was in a conversation with my friend Keith Murphy. He came to talk to my class. Thank you. And somehow this came up, and we talk about Kenna. Remember Kenna?
Well, you know, Kenna's still around.
I know, but
Kenna, I want to say, has some sort of creative deal over at Sony with one of the labels and advises them on different stuff.
No, he does technology stuff. He's but Kenna,
that debut album of his was really good.
Make Sure They See My Face. He was born in Ethiopia, moved to the United States, ended up in Virginia Beach, ended up being high school friends or something with Chad Hugo and Pharrell Williams, got signed to Star Trek. They produced some of his 2007 record. He was nominated for an alternative, whatever they call black music that doesn't sound like what they think black music should sound like, record. He's great. I hadn't thought about him or listened to him in decades. And it's, that Neptune sound, but it doesn't overpower him. So if you get a chance, he's on the interwebs. Kenna, Kenna, Make Sure They See My Face. Really interesting stuff. And then Sky Ferreira. So those are the 2 things I have been listening to. Courtney?
I do like the new Dua Lipa record. I like her new single a lot.
Oh, the single. I was going to say, I didn't know the album was out yet. Well, we like Dua Lipa. And
the video is clearly a love letter to Kylie Minogue because it's a mashup of 2 of her videos, Slow and All the Lovers. It is Kylie 2.0.
Well, you like artists who take ideas from other videos.
Well, I do at times.
I'm making a joke. I
like being able to see the inspiration, but she still can't dance. Poor thing.
I know, but it's
an E for effort. I'm always going to give the E for effort with doing because the
singers
song is a banger.
No,
and I'm
there's a lot of she's super smart. She works with interesting people. She never makes, look, the thumbnail up. She doesn't make the same record twice. She's not a dope. Seems to be in control of her career. She's never made a bad album. So she can't dance. All right. Neither can Whitney. Couldn't dance. Mariah can't dance.
I know.
She tried.
Oh, I love
Ariana Grande can't dance.
I love Mariah's version of dancing. It's kind of like it's a shimmy, shimmy,
yeah,
shake,
no, it's
shake,
like
shake.
the dress is
and
too tight.
Then she holds her arm out for one of the dancers to help walk her from one side.
Walk me through it. Right. Which is the dancer I'm dating? Come here. Help me, Brian.
Grab my arm.
And walk
me over here.
That's what I need. I need one of Mariah's dancers to walk me home from now on. All right.
They're usually hot, so I'm sure you wouldn't mind.
As long as they have good balance. At this point, I don't care. I would get like the neighborhood drunk if he could stay. Oh, if you're a neurologist or an orthopedist, call me. Anyway, take us out of here, Courtney M. Anderson.
You know what it is. Blaza, 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 blah, blah, blah. Follow us every week on the Pantheon Podcast Network, where there's over, I don't even know the amount now because new shows keep coming in that are really great. Every week on the Pantheon Podcast Network, you can find us on their main feed, or you can find us on, as ImmaLetYouFinish, on all of the usual places. Tell a friend, share the show, leave a review. Remember, we love talking to you guys over at our Facebook page, ImmaLetYouFinish, all one word. We're there.
Please leave a rating.
Yeah, and we love you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, this is Liberty DeVito.
This is Mike Del Giudice.
This is Michael Cavanaugh from Broadway's Moving Out.
This is John Jackson, director of the Billy Joel Archive.
This is Russell Javers.
This is Richie Cannata, and you're listening to Glass Houses, a Billy Joel podcast. It's awesome.
I'm Michael Grosvenor.
And I'm Jack Fernino.
We're lifelong Billy Joel fans who launched a podcast in 2020 celebrating the music we love.
Whether you're looking for the greatest hits or the B-sides and rarities, you'll find it all here. And if you've ever wondered what happens behind the scenes of a concert or recording session, we've got you covered.
Join us as we explore albums, tours, band members, the latest news, and more. You'll also get a unique glimpse into the music industry straight from the musicians and other professionals who help make it all happen.
Tune into Glass Houses, a Billy Joel podcast at glasshouses.pod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Glass Houses, a Billy Joel podcast is a proud member of the Pantheon Podcasts Network.